So in the question 1, we need to find and draw big Fy and small fy based on big fx and small fx. And also in this question, other information are the figure of small fx and the function y equals to function gx. So firstly, we can draw this function y equals to gx. So firstly, I draw this function. When x is smaller than 0, y equals to 2. And when x ranges from 0 to 1, y equals to 0. And when x ranges from 1 to 2, y equals to negative x plus 1. And when x larger than 2, the y equals to negative 1. So in this figure, we can get the range of y, which is from negative 1 to 2. So given this information, we can get some part of big Fy. So when y is smaller than negative 1, the big F1 will be 0, and when y is equal or larger than 2, the big Fy will be 1. So after that, we will use other information to get the rest part of big Fy. So the first part is that y is range from negative 1 to 0. So we can see that in this figure, when y ranges from negative 1 to 0, the y corresponding to the function negative x plus 1. So we can write the formula that big Fy equals to the probability that big Y equal or smaller to small y, which is also the probability that gx smaller than y. And in this function, as mentioned above, the gx is negative x plus 1. So we take this into this formula, and then we get that the probability big Fy equals to the probability that x equal or larger than y minus 1 minus y, which is also equals to 1 minus the probability that x smaller than 1 minus y. And then we get the big Fy based on the big Fx, which is 1 minus big Fx 1 minus 1. So we get the big Fy ranges from negative 1 to 0. And also we can get the big Fy ranges from 0 to 2. So when y ranges from 0 to 2, the x will be larger than 0. So the big Fy equals to the probability that x equal or larger than 0, which is also equals to 1 minus the probability x smaller than 0. And then we can get the relationship between big Fy and big Fx, which is big Fy equals to 1 minus big Fx 0. So after that, we get all the parts of big Fy, and then we combine them and finally get the answer. Big Fy, when y is smaller than negative 1, it will be 0. And when y ranges from negative 1 to 0, it will be 1 minus big Fx 1 minus y. And when y ranges from 0 to 2, it will be 1 minus big fx 0, and when y equal or larger than 2, it will be 1. So according to this formula, we can draw the figure corresponding to this. So when y is minus a negative 1, it will be 1 minus big fx 2, and when y is 0, it will be 1 minus big fx 1, and if y ranges from 0 to 2, it will be 1 minus big fx 0, and when y is larger than 2, it will be 1. So after find big fy and draw it, we also need to find small fy and draw it. So after that, let's find small fy and draw it. So firstly, if y equals to negative 1, so the probability y equals to negative 1 equals to the probability. From the figure, we can know that the probability y equals to negative 1 equals to the probability when x equal or larger than 2, and which also equals to 1 minus the probability that x smaller than 2. So we can find that the probability between the relationship between the probability y equals to negative 1 and the fx, which is 1 minus fx 2. So after that, if y is ranges from negative 1 to 0, the function will be y equals to negative x plus 1. So we can use the formula that makes small fy equals to small fx divide absolute derivative gx. So in this function, the derivative gx is negative 1, and the fx is fx 1 minus y. So after that, we can get, if y ranges from negative 1 to 0, it will be fx 1 minus y. So then if y equals to 0, the probability y equals to 0 equals to the probability that x ranges from 0 to 1, and also you can change it to big fx, which is big fx 1 minus big fx 0. So the last one is that when y is equals to 2, when y equals to 2, the probability y equals to 2 equals to the probability that x is smaller than 0, which is fx 0. So after that, we consider all the situation of small fx, small fx, so small fy. So the formula of small fy is that when the y equals to minus 1, it will be 1 minus big fx 2. When y ranges from minus 1 to 0, it will be fx, small fx 1 minus y. And when y is equals to 0, it will be big fx 1 minus big fx 0. And when y equals to 2, it will be big fx 0. Otherwise, small fy will be 0. So we can also use this information to draw the figure of small fy. So when y equals to minus 1, it will